And I was like, do you know what? If everyone thought that they suit me, everyone would be like, ha ha ha, what a dickhead. You know what I mean? Like, I'd get crucified. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do that. The hardest part about telling someone who's suicidal, convincing them otherwise, is when you're going through the same thing and you're having to tell them stuff that you don't even know if you believe in. And I'm like, why am I not like breaking down right now? And I'm like, am I like fucked in the head or something? Like, why am I not like bare sad right now?
Right, well, let's get into it. So, Past, Present, Future, episode 42. I didn't want to use this line, but if you add a 0 onto that number, it'll probably give you a good idea of some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today. So to get into it and start obviously at the past, I wanted to put it in perspective and just say, I guess the aim from my perspective in this section will be to pick you apart, like it's an operation, which is obviously a line from Why Am I High? And from my experience, any form of substance that you take, drink, whatever it might be, is a way of coping and is a way of, I guess, dealing with a depressive state from my perspective anyway. So what I wanted to understand in this section is what you were trying to get away from in your past.
Yeah. The short answer to that, is a lot of the time I don't know. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes I feel like I don't know what I'm missing, but like I'm not really a big drinker, but I've bunned a lot of weed in my time, innit, and I think one of the main things, I guess the main reasons why behind it is I have a lot of anxiety about where I'm gonna be and making something out of my life, basically. So I've always been the type of person that like I know I'm good at something. Like that's why I say it in you know, the feeling when you're talented but don't know what to do. Like that's like one of my favorite bars that I've ever written, because I really mean that. Like I have felt my whole life that I'm good at sports. I'm good at, you know, creative stuff. I'm clever, like, but everyone around me is doing bits and I'm not, and I'm trying my hardest. And I think that is like the pressure of wanting to be successful and wanting to do something with my life and you know, doing something for my family or changing the course of my family's past and my past as well, and proving to really my 13-year-old self, like all that worry that you had in school and that like trust me, like all of them podcasts you listen to about like, you know, you will be successful if you do this and that, they are true. And that's what I guess does cause my anxiety, which causes me to smoke, and it's a bit of a cycle really. So yeah, that's what I would say. But I think with the smoking specifically, it's a bit of a catch-22, because you're bunning to help your anxiety, but then the fact that you are bunning causes more anxiety. And then when you're in that cycle, like I was to a degree, like I'm actually trying to cut it down at the moment. You don't know what your sober state is like. So then when you are, every day when you're not bunning, let's say for example, you're working, you're not bunning, you're thinking about all your issues and you're not handling them with an optimistic mind frame. And that's because you don't know how to, because you're so used to bunning. And like,
the normal is not the normal.
Normal is not normal. And what I calculated, this is actually mad what I deeped, is that so I would smoke, every day after work from like, let's say 7 o'clock, I'd bun like maybe like 1-2 zoots. I'm not even like a massive smoker like that, but 1-2 zoots. And I deeped that you're high, from 7 o'clock until, let's say when you sleep, let's say about 3-4 a.m. So let's call that about, let's just say on average it's about 8 hours in a day you're high. I was like, for the past 10 years I've been high 33% of my life. Do you know how mad that is? So I deep, like, if that's, like, how do I know what my sober state is like? When I'm like, oh, bro, it's not the loud, bro, it's my anxiety. And then I'm like, bro, I've literally been high 33% of the last 10 years. Like, if not more, because on weekends I'll wake up and bun a zoo. So I'm like, bro, like, how do I, like, do you know what I mean? The concept is mad, bro. So what am I like? I don't really know as a sober state. You know what I'm saying? So that's what got me thinking when I just kind of calculated the amount of hours that I actually spend high. I'm like, raw, like, maybe I am quite strong mentally, but I just don't know it. Do you know what I mean?
It's crazy. And I think to understand, I guess, what you're trying to master, you probably would have to go back to the very beginning. So I was doing some research and reading some articles and stuff, and I know that unless the articles are incorrect, you grew up in Singapore until you were around.
No, so my dad moved from Singapore basically at a young age. I was actually born in the UK, but my dad moved from Singapore at a really young age. I didn't know no English, nothing like that. And then basically I was born in Essex. I was born in North London, moved to Essex. I've moved around like 7 times. So I've lived in like Brentwood, Ingrave, Romford, Harrow, Stanmore, Wood Green, like moved around everywhere. I started off my journey in in Essex, which was a weird. I didn't like Essex personally. Like, I grew up in to go right back. I actually grew up in. Basically, my dad used to play table tennis for England. Well, top 10 in England, and he was going to represent Singapore, but because he didn't play in the army, because he didn't go in the army, he couldn't get a Singaporean passport. So he wanted me to play table tennis. So he found a school in Brentwood called Penal. It's not called Penal anymore, but it was actually a private school. And he was like, all right, cool. Like, you know what? Maybe if I shout them and say, if I can coach there, maybe they'd let my son go to school for free and he could play table tennis and whatnot. So they said, look, your mum can work for the church for free and your dad can coach here and there. And you know what I mean? We'll bust you on the tuition. So I was there from basically from young until about 10, 11 years old. But the mad thing is that it was a cult. So
in what sense?
So it was a religious cult, and it was called Penal Pentecostal Church. Then the name got changed to Trinity Church. And basically it was like the best way I can describe it is that you were brainwashed through community projects. And what I mean by that is you were told that every other church was a sinner, they're going to hell. Everyone outside this church isn't doing Christianity the right way. You'd see miracles happen. Like I saw a kid get cured from leukemia in the church. I saw a guy's leg who was laying like this get lengthened in the church. At the time, I'll be honest, bro, even when I was 8, 9, I didn't believe it. But you were taught not to question God. So you have to believe it. And because bear in mind, I'm going to church Monday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday. And I'm doing Bible study notes, going back into the school. So the church was also the school. So I'm seeing the same people every day. You live in the same area, the same road has like my whole class, basically. All my class, which is only 11 people, live on the same road. You give 20% of your, which is called a tithe, you give 20% of your income to the church. So imagine these guys are killing it. They're absolutely killing it. Yeah. Like the money's ridiculous. They've got acres and acres of land. So you're around intelligent professionals, doctors, brain surgeons who are they're smart guys, innit? But everyone's literally brainwashed. It's crazy. And it was just a mad, I only really, if I'm honest with you, the last few years of my life have really reflected on that and understand how that's affected me.
I was going to say, upon reflection, how has it affected you? Because a lot of people say in your early years, in your youth, you're like a sponge. Your brain, it takes in whatever it's surrounded by. So what lasting effects has it had?
So I never really deeped that it affected me until basically I went to South Africa I just went traveling. This was in the worst time of my life. I was if I'm honest with you, one of my best friends killed himself and he had a massive problem with alcohol. And I went to South Africa. I was listen, I got paid from work. I was literally I'm leaving a job, used that money to go to South Africa traveling. And one of my old pals there from the church who left was I met him, and he was are you I got my therapy session later today. We'll link up later. And I was huh? I was what do you mean? Well, I was why? What's going on? What's going on? And he was oh no, just it was what are you saying? You doing your therapy stuff? And I was bro, like, what are you on? Like, bro, I'm blessed, bro. What are you on about? Like, yeah, like shit's just happened, but like, bro, I'm calm. Like, and then when I went back, I was like, why was he doing therapy? Like, why was it? And then over the last few years, I've realized like, now I remember it, like, I was completely ostracized. So like, what I mean by that is, imagine you've got 2,000 people, yeah, that are all your aunties, uncles. This is your family, do you know what I mean? You're ride or die, you're going to heaven with these guys, innit? Like, you know what I mean? You're around these guys every day up until, it's everything I knew until 11 years old. And then one day when we left, basically, I can't go into too much detail with it, but like, basically we exposed the pastor for something, my family, and we left, we got banished from the church and whatnot, and it was something mad, like it's all online, innit? Yeah, you can look it up, Penal Pentecostal Church. And I went in the high street, bear in mind I'm 10 years old, yeah. Went in the high street, my mum's going to a shop and I see my English teacher, yeah, and I'm like, oh, Mrs. Whaley, I'm like, oh, you're right. She completely aired me, like I'm talking, I'm this far away.
How did you feel in that moment?
I didn't know any, I just thought I'd left, like I just weren't going into school that week. Like, that's all I thought I knew. And I'm getting aired. Like, I'm talking like looking up at the ceiling anyway. And then bear in mind, I'm also going table tennis tournaments still. So I was playing, like, I was like top 3 in England at the time, under 13s, going to tournaments. Everyone there has been told, like, because it's the whole school that goes, everyone there has been told not to talk to me. So I'm going to these tournaments and I'm sitting there and people are like, my classmates, yeah, my year above, year below, are all just like completely airing me, like, and I'm like, I just don't understand it. So I'd like sit right next to them, yeah, like this, and be like, and I'd find it funny because I'm like, what's going on? Like, I'd be like, oh, how's thingy? I don't know what I said back when I was like 11, 12, but like, I'd like egg them on because I'm like, I know you're trying to air me, like, but I'm finding it funny because I'm like with my new pals now, and they're here, and I'm like, yeah, what's going on? And I'm like creasing at them. But then now I'm deeper and I'm like, it's a blessing and a curse because it did affect me like in a negative way because I felt completely shut out from life, innit? I had no one, like, bro, like, I was now in a world of sinners that now I'm just thrown into. I'm now going hell in my eyes. I'm literally now I'm going hell. But like,
what's that feeling of like from someone that had such a strong belief, which has obviously been ingrained into them?
Yeah.
Of you're with sinners and you're going to hell. What's that feeling?
Bro, I just warped my whole sense of life, bro. My whole sense of life and everything. I was in a bubble, bro. Like, and I can't even explain how much my perception of the world changed. Like, the bubble is the best way I can describe it, bro. Like it really.
And the bubble popped.
Bro, it just popped, bro. Like just completely popped. Like when just like everything like completely changed. But that forced me, because I then went to like 4 different primary schools after that. It just made me like completely and utterly like forced to be social. I had no choice but to be like social with everyone. And I think that's what has encouraged me to be like a rapper and be like this and that. Cause I'm like, bro, like I want to do it. I'll do it. Like, and I'm great at networking. That's one of my best things, and like helping people, because I'm great at seeing through people and understanding their pain and whatnot. And I think that's like, all that has forced me to, like get over that fear of not being accepted by a community. Now I don't care. I'm like, I can see people for who they are, and I can walk into any room with anyone and know how to compose myself, because I've had to do it 7 times in different schools, bro. Like I had no choice in it. Like, so that's like a big talent of mine. I work in corporate, I work in like institutional finance, for example, with hedge funds and whatnot, or I work, I'm like, bro, with the mandem in the band, like, you know what I mean? Like it's
a variety.
Yeah, and I'm right, I can do that, and that's because of that, really. But yeah.
You spoke about understanding and seeing people's pain. So you touched upon it earlier with your friends. So can you help me understand the pain that you were going through in that moment with your friend taking his life? Yeah.
The thing is, yeah, with him, obviously RIP Mavs, it was a long process. It was like me, where I have a lot of pain from growing up. He had a lot of pain growing up. And I think when he hit I don't want to talk too much about it because it's like too much, but he had a lot of insecurities, and as he got older and with like, you know, alcohol and drugs and stuff like that, it heightened those insecurities. And then when it got to, you know, like uni and stuff like that, and then now breaking out your social groups where you feel a little bit of comfort, it kind of made that even worse. And then it gets to the point for me where I'm like, I'm going through stuff. And the hardest part about telling someone who's suicidal, convincing them otherwise, is when you're going through the same thing and you're having to tell them stuff that you don't even know if you believe in. And you're like, I'm genuinely feeling like the same way, but I'm just telling you what I would tell myself. And that was mad hard, I'll be honest with you. Like that was super hard. And when you've not experienced it before and you don't know how to deal with it, and then you've also got alcohol or substances to also tackle, it's not just a mental thing. It's like, how do you do that? And for anyone listening, like, and the best bit of advice that I can give is finding small wins and changes in your lifestyle. Like, and I think that that's a massive thing with like mental health particularly, is like, the best phrase I've learned in the last few years is, how do you expect change without change? You can't expect to wake up tomorrow and feel better if you've not changed anything in your life. Whether that is like, you know, hitting the gym, whether that is eating clean or whatever it may be. I'm not saying you're gonna eat some fucking fruit and veg today and wake up tomorrow and be like, oh, I feel banging. But it's little bits of your life make you feel like you're doing something or trying to improve your life, and it's incremental steps. And if you can get someone that is, you know, super depressed and whatnot, who doesn't want to get out of their bed, who doesn't even want to open the blinds, you know, and they hate life, they're locking off their phone, they start watching like conspiracy theories because they're like, look how shit the world is. It's like, if you can get them to make incremental changes, small incremental changes, and congratulate them, you know, like really be like well done, innit? Like, because it's a big fucking deal, bro. Like, it's a really big deal that these small things like attribute to they're aligned with dopamine. And when you feel that sense of like, I've done something and actually feel good about it, that's what like makes people want to do more, you know? And yeah, that's something that I try to implement with my own life, because I know how depressed and suicidal I was at one point, and that's how I feel I've been able to push through because of small incremental changes, and also just saying, I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. I'm literally gonna do what I want to do and love do what I love every day without caring what they think, because if this is the one thing that's gonna prevent me from feeling like shit, why do I give a shit what you think? Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
One thing that you said there, and by the way, thanks for going into it, because I know it's not easy, none of these topics are easy, so thank you. But one thing that stood out to me there was, you said trying to give someone advice that essentially you don't believe in that moment because you're in a similar space is incredibly difficult. So what I'm wondering off the back of you saying that is that you're saying you're in a similar space, your friend passes away. How the hell are you feeling after that?
You know what, it's weird. When you ask that question, it's like it sounds so mad. This sounds so fucked up, yeah. But this is a defense mechanism here. But like, when I go through a lot of bad things, for example, like when growing up and like a lot of shit, I actually don't feel anything. And I know people say, I just feel numb or whatever. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, when people have passed away, a lot of people have passed away in my life, I've been like, I'm angry at myself for not feeling a certain way. And I'm like, why am I not like breaking down right now? And I'm like, am I like fucked in the head or something? Like, why am I not like bare sad right now? And I'm like waiting for the tears. I'm waiting like and whatnot. And I try and justify it like, nah, do you know what, bro? Like, it's so sad, but like, I've got to crack on with life. But then it hits me like real bad weeks and months later. Like, and it comes out in ways that I don't expect. But for me, it was kind of like, I guess the best way I can describe how I was feeling at the time was, in the long term, was like, I want to prove to you and myself that like, what I said was true. Like what I said was true. And like, and because I was in a similar state, like not to the same degree, but like, because I was in a similar mind frame, I really want to prove that like, if you are feeling in that like depressed, anxiety, like suicidal state, that like, as much as people say, trust me, things will get better, I really want to prove like, trust, like I want to be an example of like, listen, look at what I've done, bro. Like, and like, I want to be a pure example of it. Like, not even aside from the rapping, aside from the music, aside from everything, I want to show you that like, I've actually like created a life where I wake up every day and I'm actually like happy to wake up and do life. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, when you're in that clouded mind frame, bro, you don't look forward, bro. Like I was waking up every day, bro, and just literally just like, fuck's sake. Like literally every day, and I was like, I just like try and get on with it, and I think, yeah, if you're in routine of that every day, and you wake up and you bun a zoo at night, whatever, go drinking, you're good that night, you might even be good the next day, but then days later you get worse, and it's like you got to change something. Like, what can you change? Have you really given everything your best shot? Like, if you have, then and it still doesn't work, you know what? Pat yourself on the back and be like, fucking hell, I can't believe I tried that. You know what I mean? So yeah. So I've got a bit off topic there.
No, not at all. You haven't. But one thing I was thinking is within that explanation, you kind of reference feelings of maybe being a little bit numb when that situation happened, and you take yourself out of the situation, you try and pursue other things. What I would put that down to personally from my experience is when a tragic event happens and you don't react to it and then you feel guilty, that numb feeling is normally as a result of something else tragic which has happened before in your life. So you're like, I'm used to this, do you know what I mean? So I'm not sure if that's a fair analysis of your life and things that you went through before that moment. Yeah,
no, I agree, man. But I come from like my dad's was Singaporean, Chinese descent. We come from like a very non-vocal background. I've never seen my dad cry in my whole life. I've never seen my dad cry.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because in one of your lines you reference about seeing your mum cry in excess of 100 times.
Yeah.
Why was there such a big difference?
Because it's just backgrounds. Like, my mum's been through a lot in it. Like, my mum's been through a lot. Like, love my mum to bits. Like, she's been through a lot. My dad's also been through a fucking, like, seriously, like, his upbringing was insane. I can't even talk about my family like that, but like, his upbringing was, like, I'm talking, like, stereotypical immigrant who can't speak English thrown into, like, UK society, like racism, you know, financial, like he lived in literally, like, I'm not even joking, he lived in like a room smaller than this, with like 15 people. Like, the boys would get the meat, the girls would get the rice, like real, like, mad, like discipline, like crazy stuff, and I think he's grown up to have a real tough mind. But you can be tough, but like, I think he's growing up, because I've never seen emotion from him or like, you know, anything like that. That's also been the same with me. And that's why I did music, and I found so much love for music, because I was able to express myself and be me. And I think, like that cold, non-emotionless it passes down, innit? It's like, whether that's genetics or whether that's just your upbringing, I feel like that's been, I always thought I was a very open person up until about 21, and I realized actually I'm not. Like, I'm open about a lot of things, but like, I'm actually not open about a lot of things because I block it out. Do you know what I mean? So how can I be open about it if I've blocked it out? So only the last few years I've been able to do that, you know?
And how's your life changed since you analysed that and changed?
Bro, massively, man, because I'm able to self-reflect on not only my aspirations, you know, I've always had anxiety about where do I want to go in life, like what do I want to be, but also like looking at my life and being like, am I really doing everything I can? Like, how can I be self-reflective? How can I look at like even love life, bro? Like, how can I, like, I never wanted, like, I've got a girl at the moment, like I never wanted a girlfriend, like I never did. And I never wanted to say, like, I've never really said I love you to my parents, like ever in my life, like really. And I was like, why is that? And then I have to look back and be like, why is that? Like, you know, why do I feel uncomfortable saying I love you to someone, you know? And like, when I'm able to look back at these things, I'm like, rah, like, it's because of this, why that. How? Okay, cool. So if you understand it, how can you change it? And it's uncomfortable, I'll be honest, like, it sounds weird, but like, even saying I love you to people, I've always struggled with that, innit? Like, I've always had a massive struggle saying I love you, even to, like, it sounds mad, but like, bro, like, I used to feel mad, like, hugging my mum, like it sounds weird, but like, saying I love you, but my sister on the phone, she'll be like, oh yeah, all right, see you, love you. And I'm like, all right, yeah, bye. And I'm like, you're a weirdo, bro.
How does that affect intimate relationships?
Massively, but massive, like, to be honest with you, like, that's why I've not really had any. Like, I've like been a bachelor, like, you know what I'm saying, for like since like 16. But as of recent, like, yeah, I've been way more open because I've been able to be more self-reflective. And I think I would have had a lot of relationships. I would have built a lot of relationships in general more if I would have been more open and whatnot. But I think my inability to say words, like, even though bro, like, of course I love my mum, bro. Of course I love my sister, like, but my inability to like make these things vocal has affected me and my emotional development, which is, I think, a big thing in life. Your emotional development is just as important as every other part of your life, because you need to learn and grow, and that's how you become a Scrooge if you don't have that emotional development.
It's really interesting, and it kind of ties into my next point. When I was kind of doing my prep, I was looking at, like, obviously studying the lyrics to your songs and listening to them and kind of trying to find like pillars of what I think would represent your mental state in your past. And about the only one that we haven't touched upon is a feeling of being stagnant in life, in music, whatever it might be. And I think I can relate to this because, as someone that I think is a mirror image of you in terms of very ambitious and wants to accomplish a lot of things in life, I think there's no worse feeling than feeling like you're not moving forward.
Yeah.
So how would you describe the feeling of being stagnant and how it affects your mental well-being?
Bro, this, I would say this for me is like the biggest challenge of my life in general. So to give you context, like, I used to play table tennis for Great Britain from like 13 to like 17. I never got basically I was like number 2, number 3, always around that. And I just, like, when I stopped that, because I just stopped getting picked for England, I had a choice whether to move to Belgium or not. And I couldn't afford to move to Belgium to play table tennis. So I was like, I've got a social life here now, I might as well crack on. That was like the first realization of like, what am I doing? Like, what am I actually doing? And for me, the feeling of like being stagnant is, it's so painful, but it's motivating, because it's like, what you have to ask yourself, bro, like, be real, be like, what are you doing? Like, what am I doing every day in order to get one step closer to where I want to be? And if you've got an overall goal, which is something I always say, yeah, might be a little bit off topic, but if you have a goal in mind, let's say you feel stagnant and you don't know what you want to do, or you're confused, whatever, make sure you've got an overall goal, yeah? And that might be up here, right? Like, whatever that may be. And do one step every day in order to reach that goal. The way life works, the chances are, yeah, and I don't want to shoot anyone's dreams down, the chances are you won't actually hit that goal. However, what's something which is more beautiful out of life is that on that journey to hit this goal up here, you might meet someone or find a new inspiration about something that might trigger something else and go, wait a minute, this is actually really interesting. Actually, this is really interesting. Next thing you know, let's say, for example, you started off and, like, for me, bro, I wanted to be a beatboxer. I wanted to be a beatboxer. I've done beatboxing for years, you know what I'm saying? Like, and through that decision of me going, nah, fuck it, I'm doing beatboxing, I've then decided I'm gonna start rapping. Then I've decided, oh, I quite enjoy singing. Then I've decided, I quite like making content. Then I've decided, but that initial goal of wanting to be Faith SFX, or Razel, the best beatboxer in the world, yeah, has just having that mentality of I'm just gonna wake up tomorrow and just do these incremental steps has got me to become like a musician. And I'm like, raw, like, if I never took that step, if I never had that mentality of just going YOLO, like, I'm actually gonna like wake up tomorrow and just do one thing, even if I don't get there, I'm just gonna do one step towards it. you could meet one person that changes your life, bro. One person that can change your life. But you'll never know if you never have that initial goal that you're working towards and you don't have an open mind about life. And that's one of the biggest gems I've taken away from life is like, have that initial goal. Know that The Rock actually says, I don't know if you've seen, yeah? So The Rock, one of the best videos, maybe you can get a little clip up, yeah? But he basically says, he goes, I just wanted to tell a story. When I was, I moved out basically to a certain part of America. I wanted to be an NFL player. He goes, I just joined the team. He goes, had my first game. We lost, but it was fine. I was playing well. Had another game. And he goes, you know what? I got dropped. He goes, dreams shattered. He goes, didn't know what I wanted to do, anything. And he goes, my whole life goals were just gone. And he goes, but you know what? He goes, not getting in the NFL was the best thing that never happened to me because now I'm The Rock. He goes, that's what got me into WWE. And then what got me into acting was through WWE. But if I never worked towards that initial goal, I would have never have done I've never been The Rock, and you know what The Rock is. You know what I'm saying? That's the guy, bro. You know what I mean? So, and that is one of the best videos that like I've watched about like not achieving what you want, because sometimes it's more about other gems that you might pick up, bro, along the way, and that's honestly, I'd love for you to get that video up. It's just a quick Instagram video, but it's proper gems, man.
100%. And I think one thing that I've taken from that is that more often than not, if you ask someone what their eventual goal is, it's going to be something pretty crazy more often than not. So even if, like you say, you take that step each and every day and you fall short, you're probably going to be in quite a good place.
Bro. So 100%, bro. What did they say? Is it reach for the stars and you might get to the moon?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Shoot for the stars.
I might have just made that up right now. That's a good bar. I might use that.
But to transition into the present, so we've spoken obviously a lot about mental health, depression and stuff like that, which I think is great to go into for awareness purposes, but also to help other people out that are watching or listening. So I wanted to ask you another one of your lines to utilise. You say, and if I win this battle, anybody can. That's what I never understand. In the present moment, have you won it?
I think I'm winning it, honestly. Like, to give you context, like even before this podcast, bro, like I've not bunned for 2 weeks. Like, which is the first time in 10 years. I'm trying to do what I preach about, which is, incremental changes to my life and whatnot. And what I mean by like, if I win this battle, anybody can, is like my battle with depression and anxiety, bro, and my past. And I don't want to become a victim of my past. I don't want to become a product of my pain. I want to really use that and fuel it to have motivation to model myself in the person that I really want to be. Like, I look up to a lot of people and like I want to be someone that when I'm doing a podcast in 10 years time, when I'm doing, like someone asks me, advice, I really want to be like, look, like this is my story and this is how I got there. And right now in my current life, even though I'm not where I want to be, I'm nowhere near where I want to be, musically, like, financially, everything. I'm proud of what I'm doing right now. Even though, I'll be honest, tomorrow I wake up and be like, I'm fucking depressed as fuck. Like, I'm not where I want to be and whatnot. And I go through that on a week to week basis, but I know that I'm focused. I've got my goals and just appreciating where I was. Like, and I know that feeling. Like, I know that that's so far from what I am now. And that to me is like, that's a mad thing. And I want to just constantly keep going that way, because I feel like in life, you're either going this way or that way. If you're stagnant, you're going that way. So it's like, come on, bro, like keep pushing towards this, because you're getting further and further away from that point of life where you genuinely had no idea what to do or how life's going to get better. And I feel, even though, I'm not rich, I'm in any shape or form, like I don't have a yard, like I'm not doing like, I've got a couple million streams, but I'm not like, selling out arenas. I'm like, it's cool, bro. Like you're doing what you're saying. Like, listen to your old music, bro, and think about how you were feeling and look how you're developing, and I'm quite proud of myself for that.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think it's important not to look backwards, but to take inspiration from it.
100%.
I mean, for sake of example, 2 years ago I was writing articles about your music,
Yeah.
and today we're in the same room having a conversation. So look at that growth. I think that's really important.
100%.
So I did want to ask you about music. How happy would you say you are right now in the present moment with where you're at from a music perspective?
It's a good question. I feel like I really want to be. I feel like I should be bigger, but again, sometimes you got to be self-reflective and be like, bro, like, have I done everything in my power in order to be as big as I can be?
And what's the answer to that question?
I'd say no. I'd say that. Cool, because I'm independent. I've done everything myself, bro. Like funded everything that I've ever done, like bar like one EP. I've done like, I've marketed myself, everything. I'm like, but when I look back, sometimes I'm like, do you think that song really could have, blown up? Like, was it just good because, was it a good song? And I'm like, but was it a great song? I'm like, everyone makes good music, bro. If I go to the studio and I just sit on the laptop and I ask the engineer to play me some songs throughout the week, there's bare people that make good music. It's not about that, bro. I want to be great, innit? And greatness takes time. And I'm at this stage in my career where I don't want to put out meaty music. I don't want to, I want to show people, like, especially like aspiring artists, that like it is the long game, but you will get there. I want to show people that, some people get signed when they're early on, or they get an amazing manager and they fund them, and then next thing you know, they're on billboards, and they got 20K to put in an EP. They're doing crazy videos, and it's a bit of an easier journey. I'm showing you, like, listen, if you ain't got that, this is where. Like, I want to show you can do it. It just might take a little bit longer, but it's worth it. But to answer your question, I'd say no. I'm not really happy with how big I am or how successful I am. What I am really happy with is my fan base. Like, I actually, like, honestly, like, to bits. Like, I love my supporters. Like, and I know every artist says that, but genuinely, like, some people don't even really, like, they listen to my music. They don't bang it in the clubs and whatnot, but like it's made a difference in their life. Whether that's like them not being able to speak about something, and it's like, rah, like, what you got, like you think about that as well, or right, you smoke where weed, and what you think that, and it's, bro, I want to be basically like the music that I used to listen to when I was growing up. I want to be that for someone else, because I know how that felt. I know how that felt, and yeah. So to kind of summarize. I say, no, I'm not happy with how big I am, but yes, I am happy with individual supporters that I've been like, right, like, I'm actually really proud of myself that I am the person that when I was 13 or 16, whatever, I looked up to and was like, right, like, that is my favorite song of all time, because I can actually fully relate to that. And that's actually like helped me analyze my life and at least appreciate that someone else is thinking the same way as me, and I believe in them, so I should believe in me. You get me? Yeah,
facts, 100%. I echo it. And one of the things that you touched on within that answer, which is actually something I really wanted to go into, was marketing. So I think from my perspective anyway, there's a massive spotlight on marketing at the moment, especially with like Central C and YBs and what they're doing and stuff like that. So I mean, I had to ask you with the Five Guys, I'm Just Bait post. So how did that come about? What's the story there? Because I think it's genius. I can't lie.
All right, so basically, it's guerrilla marketing, isn't it? Basically, but yeah, like I one of the main things, like, if you're an aspiring artist, you got to have like moments, like, you have to have moments in like public moments, right? And you got to sometimes understand that, like, regardless of whether you might want everyone to like you at all times. So that's why a lot of people post captions, like, they'll get people to post on pages like, this is fire, like, and stuff like that. And unfortunately, that just doesn't work. Like, unless you're ridiculous, it don't work. People know it's a promo post and whatnot. So because I'm confident in myself and whatnot, I don't care if people hate on me. So I was like, do you know what? I'm going to tie into that. I was like, I'm a young white rapper. Like, I was like, you know what? Yeah, what would be sick? What would actually like make people laugh at me a lot? And I was like, I've done a video called High Life outside Five Guys. And I was like, on the day they were telling us to usher away. And I was like, wouldn't it be jokes if, like, well, it wouldn't be jokes, but what if they sued me? And I was like, do you know what? If everyone thought that they sued me, everyone would be like, ha, 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 what a dickhead. You know what I mean? Like, I'd get crucified. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that. So I just literally made a fake article, just put it online. I'm just fake posted it. And everyone was ripping into me like, ah, ha, ha, like, how you going to fund your next video and all this, yeah. And little did they know, obviously I'm laughing because I'm like, yeah, look, I'm just like all these haters and whatnot. But it's calm though, because I got a lot of new fans who clicked onto that. They were like, oh, who is this cunt? Basically, clicked onto my music. And they're like, oh, actually, like your music's actually kind of cold, to be honest with you. Like I actually rate it. And I had my cousin belling me off, like, bro, like, what happened? Like, fucking hell, like, no one offered me money to help pay it off, but you know what I mean? But nonetheless, yeah, bro, but like, I think you'll find that like in this day and age, yeah, I'd say like 85% of posts that you see about people are all actually like fake. To be honest, I don't actually do that. That was like honestly the one time I've ever done like a fake post, but just because it just fit the theme of the video and whatnot. But you will actually find that, yeah, the majority of, I don't even want to bait people out like that, but like the majority of artists will even have Instagram relationships with influencers in order to promote their new R&B signal. You know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. So yeah. Well,
it was genius. So thank you for going into it. Because from a fan perspective, I just wanted to hear the story because I loved it. A lot of marketing though, to keep on the marketing trend, you need to have budget for.
Yeah.
And to have budget, I guess from an independent artist perspective, if I put myself in your shoes, you might have to work a job and then pursue a dream on the side. So I wanted to ask you about the concept of 9 to 5, 5 to 9, and what that really means.
So literally, so my whole thing, my whole ethos about everything is like, you know, I was saying about chasing your dreams, you know, like making, you know, regardless if you're working a shit job and you can't, a lot of people say, leave your job and just chase your dreams, bro. That's not realistic. That's the unfortunate reality, is that it's just not realistic. But remember, your job is like 9 to 5 or whatever your hours may be. But like, what are you doing 5 to 9 in order to change your 9 to 5? So like, I made my clothing brand 9559 because I just wanted to show people like it's a representation of what I strongly believe in, you know? Like if you hate your job, which I did, and I was in the worst mind frame ever, I'm still doing it, just FYI, like I'm still doing 9559, bro. That's still me, bro. I was doing it like 8 years to get to where I want to be. But you have to do it. But at one point, if you work 9 to 5 and 5 to 9, you focus on your dreams, that 5 to 9 will replace your 9 to 5. And that will become a thing where you wake up every day and you're like, rah, I'm waking up every day loving what I do. Do you know what I'm saying? And if you, from a marketing perspective, bro, like if you're an independent artist, bro, you've got to invest, bro. There's no two ways about it. If you ain't got money to do it, you've got to now go double down on your creativity on TikTok or, you know, or Reels or whatever it may be. You've got to be creative. So it's like, if you don't think that you're a creative person, like, you know, with ideas or whatnot, and you don't have money, well, the unfortunate reality is this game probably ain't for you. Unless you're amazing at rap, like you're incredible at music, incredible. Even so, bro, it still might not be for you, because I've met some incredible singers, best singers I've ever heard, and they're singing outside Camden Town High Street, and they're getting like, you know, £5 an hour. And I'm like, but they're not thinking about marketing, they're not thinking about branding. They're like, you know, they're just wearing a little polo and whatnot, and they think, but they're singing about like, you know, they're singing like an emo, like or rock music, and I'm like, but you don't look like that, you know? And I think as an artist, as an independent artist, you've got to think about every aspect of yourself, yeah? Look at what the labels do. Look at your favorite artist, yeah? Think, what do they do? If you want to be Mr. Drip, if you're talking about drip and whatnot, bro, I see a lot of independent rappers talking about like, yeah, Rolly this, Rolly that. Bro, and your video is like a £10 video. You got like no Rolex on. You got like, you're talking about drip, and you're wearing like just a Ralphie t-shirt and like Ray-Ban shades. I'm like, bro, like, you've got to brand yourself how you want to communicate yourself. If you want to be Mr. I get gal, I'm an R&B singer, are you? Like, do you look like the guy that gets gal? If not, then bro, like no one's going to believe it. And I think one of the most important things about marketing, especially with like, as an independent artist, is you have to be believable, bro. Like, why do you think a lot of drill rappers, this is my analogies, why do you think a lot of drill rappers are successful right now, it's because, bro, they've got 50 man in the video on the greasy estate in, let's say, South London. The estate is famous, yeah? They might all be wearing masks. You don't even know who the fuck they are. But when you watch the video for 5 seconds, you believe it. You believe that he's dipped someone down last week and stabbed whose mum or whatever. You just believe it, you know what I mean? And you got to apply the same logic with your brand and what you do. If you're Mr. Motivational or Mr. Money Man, then show it. If you're Mr. Gets Gal, show it. If you're Mr. Weed Smoker, well, I got to show it. You know what I'm saying? So like, you got to think about that, and it has to match. And always think about, in this day and age, people's attention spans are so short that you've got I'd say 2.5 to 5 seconds in order to impress someone and make it believable. So if you can't do that in literally I'd say 2.5 seconds, then they are scrolling to the next post. The amount of posts that there are every day, you got to. So yeah, like, to summarize that with like a independent artist, be believable, be creative with your marketing. And if you don't have money to market yourself, and you don't have, crazy ideas as such, bro, you better double down on what you're doing financially. And then you got no choice but to focus on the creative side in your 5 to 9, because you just can't, unless you just hit a pot of gold and get lucky. Some people do, then yeah, great. But like, the unfortunate reality is that 99.999% of people are not the people that just go viral on TikTok. Like, there's a strategy behind it.
Gems, I think it's really important, so thank you for going into it. I think a lot of people will be able to take a lot from that and hopefully implement it into their strategies moving forward. So I appreciate it. I wanted to transition into the future. Yeah. And to again use one of your pieces of music to, I guess, conceptualize the idea of going into the future. If life is a marathon, how many miles have you run in terms of your eventual goal?
I'd probably say like, I'd probably say maybe, I'd like to say like 10, literally. Like, I'd say I'm not really, no, do you know what? I say even less than that, bro. I'd probably say I'm about 5% of the way of where I want to be.
Okay, so if you're 5% of the race, what does the end of the race look like in terms of your eventual goals in the future?
So for my future, my ultimate goals are, I want to become obviously a successful artist. And what that means is I want to create a comfy income from music to a point where if I wanted to, I could just do music and that's it. And be able to invest in myself and take profits. Because I think what a lot of people don't understand is, like, with music, I'm actually making a decent amount from music, but with videos, marketing, beats, mixing, mastering, everything, outfits, whatever, a lot of the time you're breaking even. So I want to get to a stage where I'm like, the money's just coming in from music, but I'm also setting up a lot of side businesses, like my 9459 clothing. I'm working on another project actually as well, a big project that's going to take me a good, I'm about a year's deep in it. It's going to take me like 2-3 years. I know we spoke off camera about it.
We might revisit it.
We'll revisit that. But that's going to take me like a couple of years to really get into. And then, to be honest with you, bro, I want to get to a point financially where I can actually like almost set up a kind of foundation where I can help up and coming independent artists, creatives, and business people. Not like a what's it called? What's the Shark Tank kind of vibe? Yeah. Not really like that, but I just want to I really want to get to a point where I can give advice because it's valid. Right now, I feel like I'm not as successful as I want to be, so I can't really give as much business advice or, financial advice or, like creatively or artist advice, because I don't feel as valid. I don't feel like I can, say, look what I've done, because I've not done it yet, like my goals anyway. So I want to get to that stage where I'm able to just be financially free, help my family, my friends, create opportunities for people, for my friends and family, but also create opportunities for people that were like me when I was 13, who I genuinely feel like if I was 13 and I was given a helping hand, I'd be skyrocketing right now. Obviously it's calm because the journey's the journey, innit? And I wouldn't be who I am now if I didn't go through what I went through. But I think that I could save a lot of lives by helping a lot of people in the early stages of their life get to where they want to be, because a lot of people don't, unfortunately, have the perseverance to wait 10 years, 15 years to find that freedom and wake up every day and enjoy. Whereas I want to help young kids, you know, who are lost and were like me when they were younger, get to that stage quicker and just basically show them a bit more of a pathway, because outside of uni, become a rapper, become a trapper. And I mean, I don't really know anything else other than that. If my parents would give me advice, not that they would advise trapping, but you know what I mean? So I want to give them that kind of like light and, you know, not like Hustlers University, but you know what I'm saying? Like my own kind of like thing. But yeah, man.
You spoke about your parents then. Is being a father in the plans?
Yeah, like, bro, I'd love to be a dad, innit? But just right now, no. And the main reason why I wouldn't be a dad right now, if I'm completely and utterly honest, is just financially, bro. I know how much of a toll it took on my dad when he was younger, to have me and, you know, raise a kid. And I want to make sure that when I have a kid, I want them to be able to look at their dad and be like, raw, like,
he's the guy.
he's the man. And like, he's not just bullshitting. Like I've watched his podcast, you know what I'm saying? And he talks about all of his past and look what he's doing now. Like, raw, like, I can't believe that. Like, that's inspirational. Whereas I don't want him to see me at the broke stage, at the sacrifice stage. I want him to be like, raw, like, if he's got to where he's got, I've documented so much, bro. Like, even podcasts like this, like, I want him to watch it back and be like, oh, swear, like, raw. So I did feel like I feel like that. I'm 13. I feel like that, you know, like, mad. Like, so yeah, I would love to have a youth, but
when the time is right.
Yeah, when the time is right, man.
And given your experience growing up from an emotional perspective, how would you approach that as a dad to a son?
I feel I'd approach it very, very differently. I feel my dad was amazing. Like, he's an amazing dad. But I would love my family to be a bit more unified. So I, like, whether I'm with my wife or not, when I have a kid, I want the family to be a little bit more unified and also have a bit more of a foundation as to friendship circles, a bit more, because I feel like I've come from such a broken family and lived in so many different places, so many different social circles, that I always felt lost. Like, I went through a geezer stage, emo stage, road man. Like, I thought I was like road, whatever. Like, bro, I thought everything, like, and trying to figure out who I want to be. And I think that delayed a lot of my progress because I wasn't comfortable with who I am. But, and I think that, having a strong foundation as to, like, your friendship circle, your family and stuff like that, allows you to understand who you are, accept who you are and your background and everything, and allow you to look forward as opposed to looking internally all the time and question what your beliefs are, what your family's like, you know, and everything. So, yeah, that's what I'd like. I like to have a strong foundation before I, have a family.
Sick. Unreal. Last question. You said within that you want your son to maybe watch this interview back, watch different things back, and you kind of give me the impression of someone that you might even watch this back in years to come.
Yeah, so he'll probably look at this and be like, what shit sunglasses are you wearing, bro? Take them off.
But with that in mind, what message would you like to give your future son, your future self, to watch back? The
message I would give to my future self or my son, the message I'd give to my son would be, no matter how lost or confused you are growing up, just know that it really is part of the journey, and you have to accept that it's part of life to feel like that. And in a way, it's good to feel like that, but ultimately you won't answer those questions that you've got in your head without working towards it. And when you do, and you finally get there, it makes all of those questions worthwhile, and you will be able to help other people answer those questions about themselves when the time's right. And I think just remember that life is all about giving like it's way better to give than it is to receive. And if you can kind of keep that mentality, then you'll understand that in order for you to give, you have to work on yourself. If you've got nothing to give, then it's dead, bro. Like what can you do with life in it? So if you really want to live a life where you feel like you're giving to people, or work on yourself all the time, bro, and try and find ways to be happy and make other people happy, because then you'll find more ways to give and more ways to bless yourself. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I say.
Unbelievable. Well, I actually said it on the episode that would be previous to this, that was one of my favourite ever conversations, and I can't say it every week, but I need to say it again today. Genuinely, I want to thank you for your time, for going into difficult topics, and for being so open and honest. It's been incredible, so thank you.
No, thank you, bro. I really enjoyed it, man. We'll definitely catch up maybe a year today, see where I am with the other project and whatnot, see where I am with the music, and man, see where you're at with the podcast stuff. So
100%, let's see what happens.
100%.
Nice one, bro. Thank you.
Love. Come on.